Extension Specialist for Instructional Support, and we are session 3 of Big Blue Book Club. So we've been to Frankfort, we've been to Fulton, and now we're in Horse Cave, and I'm really excited that we're here. So we're in the Penny Ryle region of our book, which we find fault with a little bit, because we really call this Mammoth Cave. We call this the Mammoth Cave area, and later on when Sonya Carter, who is the agent here in Hart County, talks to us, she's going to share with us about the Mammoth Cave region. But the Penny Ryle region in the book actually does cover the counties that we do call the Penny Ryle region, which are Caldwell and Christian and Todd and Livingston, and I'm probably missing some. And then the Mammoth Cave area, Allen, Barron, Butler, Edmondson, Hart, Logan, Metcalf, and Monroe, Simpson, and Warren.
Impressive.
Are you all impressed that I could get those? So I was agent for 17 years in Barron County, and so that might be the reason I can rattle those off so easily. So we do have some fun stories to tell about things that happen. So in Caldwell County, there is the Adsmore House Museum. That's not in the book, I don't think. Well, I know it's not because they didn't know about it. But the Adsmore House Museum was actually the Smith Garrett home, and it was a private home until 1984. It was built in the late 1800s, and then in 1900, the Smith family bought it and renovated it, and it was quite the antebellum home. And it became the home of Catherine Garrett, who lived there until her death in 1984, and she was the daughter of the Smith family. And she left the home to the public library in Caldwell County, with the stipulation that they leave the house open to the public. And so it is a private home that you can tour, and it has amazing, I guess, antebellum period costumes and decorations and that sort of thing. And they change the decorations up for the seasons, so it doesn't matter, and you can go 4 times a year and see completely different things. So that's kind of a fun thing that happens in the Penny Ryle area. And then in Hopkinsville, or Christian County, and the funny thing that you might notice as we go across the state, our names of our towns and the names of our counties don't necessarily match up, except for where we started, in Fulton, because we started in Fulton County and the city of Fulton. And that's pretty rare for Kentucky. We just seem to think that we shouldn't match up those names. But Christian County is Hopkinsville, is also the batter capital of the world. Does anybody know why?
No.
Anybody on Zoom know why? I'm not seeing any chats there. So they make batter for things like Ghirardelli brownies, or Cheddar Bay biscuits that you like, the ones you get at Red Lobster, or Krusty's pancakes. So if you really have a hankering for some pancakes or brownies or biscuits, go to Hopkinsville and you'll get all the batter that you possibly want. So that's just a little bit about the Penny Ryle area before we dive into what else. I'm going to let Sonya cover the Mammoth Cave area later. But before we get much further, I'm going to turn it over to Dylan and Annie are going to be from the American Cave Museum, are going to be sharing with us about this place. I don't those of you who aren't here with us, you'll see pictures in a bit about the American Cave Museum and the Hidden River Cave. But it's a fabulous, interesting place, and we are so excited to be here. So Annie is the education director, and I'm just going to let you take over. So tell us all that you have to share.
Well, I want to first thank everyone for being here, whether this is virtual, for those of you joining us virtually, and those of you who are here today. Thank you so much for coming. Hidden River Cave is the cave, and the organization that operates the cave is the American Cave Conservation Association. So we began in Virginia years and years ago and worked out of a tiny little trailer and just got called on for specific projects here and there, but across the U.S. And we get a call one day from a gentleman named Bill Austin who owned Hidden River Cave. It had been passed down to him through generation after generation. It was originally bought by the family in the late 1800s, and it was passed down from father to son, then son to daughter, and then daughter to nephew. And the nephew was Mr. Bill Austin. Now, during the time that the family owned the cave, the city was developing into a much bigger community with industrial areas, lots of neighborhoods, and we started seeing some contamination enter into the cave system, and this escalated to the point where the cave began to degrade down. The the amount of organisms in the cave started dying out. We started seeing species that could only survive in extreme pollution, such as bloodworms. And so Mr. Austin, he, wanting to take care of this cave, called the ACCA and asked us for our assistance. And in trade, he was going to donate the cave and this building to the city, who then leased it to us with a 99-year lease, $1 a year, so that we could become the caretakers of this cave system. So we are headquartered here. We run tours through the cave as a fee source, but our monies go towards our nonprofit education and conservation projects. Our education is pretty much centered here. Dylan and I, we host probably about 3,000 students from K through adult a year. And we focus on karst hydrology, groundwater contamination, geology, all of those things that help people understand what karst is, its value, its sensitivity, and the need to protect it. And our conservation projects, though, they go all over the U.S. They focus mainly on backgating, which is a way of securing a cave to keep out the unwanted, such as the people who sneak in and litter and kill the organisms that live in there, destroy the ecosystem in there. Backgating keeps those people out, but it is designed to keep up the natural flow of water and air into that entrance. And it is built according to the bat species and other animal species in that cave, so that they can continue to move in and out of the cave uninterrupted. We focus on those mainly, but we also do a lot of restoration for formations that have been damaged, caves that have been vandalized. We have classes and groups that go in and repair these formations as best as they can to kind of return the cave to its natural state as best as we can. But we also sponsor cave management symposiums that bounce around the United States every 2 years. So we try to keep those things up by offering the facility to visitors who want to come and learn in the interpretive realm. So that's a little bit of history and a little bit of what we do here and why we do it. We do manage all of this on a very small staff. Most of them are cave guides. The rest of us have other jobs, but can also guide through the cave as well. Dylan and I, though, we compose the entire education department. And I have to brag on Dylan because I'm gonna leave him with you guys today, but he is, going to be taking my spot in, we don't really know in what amount of time, because I'm moving up to CEO, and so this is our future education director. He's our education specialist right now, and he'll be with you today in case you have any questions throughout your talk. The only other thing I wanted to add is earlier when you were kind of explaining the Pennyrile area and what we call it the Mammoth Cave area, I have to say as a geologist, we call it the Dripping Springs Escarpment. Yes, the Dripping Springs Escarpment is basically a cliff that is the end of the Big Clifty Sandstone, and then it drops down to bedrock of mostly limestones. And the reason why that is so important to the geologists and hydrologists in this area is because the Big Clifty Sandstone is the cap rock to Mammoth Cave. It is the reason why Mammoth Cave has been able to grow to such lengths. It's sort of like a bowl of spaghetti in the ground, and because of that cap over top of it, as water percolates through, or water is not able to percolate through, and so water does not destroy all those previously created pathways. So it has grown deeper and deeper, 5 levels of cave system that have remained intact. And so when you get to the edge of that Big Clifty, where it has eroded down, there is a sudden drop, and a lot of water is then able to get underground to create some of these smaller systems in the area. So we like to call it the Dripping Springs Escarpment, and you can start seeing it around Elizabethtown, and it is to the west, and you'll just see this line of trees and rock all the way down to Bowling Green, and you're following the escarpment at that point. So if you ever take 31W from this area down to Bowling Green, the view of the escarpment is absolutely beautiful as you cross through the sinkhole plain. So welcome to the area. I hope you enjoy learning more about it. I grew up here with a short stint at Murray State, which is in the Pennyrile, yeah, but non-karst. So I'm back here, grew up here, live in Bowling Green, and just travel back and forth every day because no drive is too far to come in and do this wonderful job that we have here. So does anybody have any questions for me? I didn't want to take up too much time, so I guess
I love that you shared that Dripping Springs, because I've lived here 28 years and I did not know that.
Yes,
So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. And then that's a very prominent geological feature in the area. Kind of helps us get a grip on how the karst is formed in the area. So, yeah. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys again for coming today. Dylan's going to be with you, but if you need anything else, I'm going to be running around the property with some meetings and some just general upkeep of what's going on. So y'all enjoy your class today, and enjoy the cave if you decide to go in and visit with us in there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much. So Dylan, do you want to share with us a little bit about what you were sharing out there about the about the cave?
Okay. Alright, so I was kind of introduced by Annie, but my name's Dylan, and I'm sort of second place in education here, but am looking forward to taking over the education that we do here one day, when the time comes. When the rest of the group that's here physically first arrived, we stepped outside and took a look at our cave entrance. Now, for those of you who are attending virtually, I do want to say that our building is pretty much directly in front of the entrance to our cave. As a matter of fact, the building is built inside of the sinkhole that leads into the cave system. We're very on site, to say the least, when it comes to education. cave, the town was built around this cave a long time ago for the reasons that Annie discussed, and was mistreated for some amount of time, but then taken over by our association. We've cleaned it up and have had upkeep on it ever since then. But it is just one of many caves in this unique region that we have, where so many different caves can form. One of the first questions I was asked was whether this cave could potentially connect to Mammoth Cave, or the Mammoth Cave system, or not. And despite what you may think initially, it's actually very unlikely that that is the case. In this region of Kentucky, we have thousands of caves, and just a little over 3,000 if you want to be exact. And only about 30 of them directly connect to Mammoth, in the sense that you could go into one of those caves and come out of whatever the Mammoth entrance is with enough time and effort. A lot of caves in the area connect to Mammoth through water and air, but we wouldn't consider those to be a part of the same cave system as you would have a mapped out cave, though they would be a part of the same water system or air system. Our cave system is one that is a little over 10 miles in length. It is not close to being completely explored from what we can tell. We do know that the river that flows through this cave flows through other caves in the area. Sorry. I don't know if he's asking me a question. No, that's my voice. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Yeah. It's like falling for your own shadow, right? So we know that many caves flow, this river flows through many different caves, and we're very limited on how much we can map out this cave system because of how much water is there in the first place. There's some sections of the cave that you can only go into for a window of a couple months every year. Maybe somewhere back there we connect to Mammoth Cave. It's unlikely. We're in two different drainage basins, and for us to connect together, the rivers that once flowed through those drainage basins would have to have met in their very most outer layer. If you picture two separate bowls, for example, have water funneling through them, that water would have to be at the very edge of both bowls for that connection to happen, right? It's very similar. All that is to say is that we have many, many different unique caves around here. This is one of them, completely separate from Mammoth. You can go to thousands of caves in the area that are completely separate from Mammoth. People here have caves in their backyard, and that's just a part of growing up here. Very unique in that regard. We have caves all across Kentucky, but we really do have a very dense amount of them here, more so than any other place in the world. And it's a part of what makes this region unique, and so I'm glad you guys came by and decided to check us out today. Are there any specific questions for me? I hope that's kind of a good summary of the caves around here.
I've got a nagging question. I don't know if you have the answer, but why Horse Cave? Why do we call it Horse Cave?
It's a good question. So when this region was initially being surveyed by Europeans in the late 1700s, this was a part of the Virginia territory. They came across this cave and called it a horse-sized cave. Pretty simple, straightforward. And the cave was called Horse Cave for a very long time as well. Now, eventually they began to build around the cave throughout the mid-19th century. And as they began doing tourism in the cave in the early 20th century, they have a competition to change the name of the cave so different people can enter different names. And this was kind of a way to draw attraction to the cave, give it a new name, and then, hey, we'll have a grand opening for it and you can come on in. And the cave that ended up winning the cave name was Hidden River. And so that happened in 1916, and it's been called Hidden River Cave ever since 1916. But it was Horse Cave, and then the town was the town of Horse Cave, but now it's Hidden River Cave in the town of Horse Cave. It's kind of fun.
Very interesting. Okay.
Oh yeah. And then, are there any other questions for me?
Was this building that we're in right now? Is this built as a living structure, as a residential structure, or was this always considered commercial?
It's actually kind of unique. So this upper layer that we're in, we're standing where it was townhouses for a long time. It's kind of cool to see that if you walk through the entire upper section of our building, you can kind of tell, oh yeah, these rooms all look the same. I guess these were the rooms that they lived in a long time ago. And if you look out our back door on the way out, you'll see sort of a broken down building. That actually used to be the entrance to the townhouse part of it. Now, as for the rest of the building, the lower level, half of it was a part of a bank, and if you go in through our front door, if you look above you right before you go in, it still says Horse Cave State Bank to this day, because, you know, I mean, we can't really change stone inscriptions, so we're also known as Horse Cave State Bank in a way. And on the side, it even has its plaque, you know, built in 1915, whatever, but it was originally used for that. The room that we put all of our rappelling and caving gear in was a vault room, and then the museum was an entirely separate building that belonged to different companies through time. But as the pollution increased in the cave system, I don't know if Annie mentioned this in particular, the town started to smell really, really bad, and that drove a lot of people out and killed a lot of businesses too. At one point, the only stores open in town were a Dollar General and a barber shop. And very little population. And there's factories as well, but that was pretty much it. You know, half the buildings on Main Street, if you guys look outside, are still abandoned to this day. Yeah, we actually took down a few in recent years. But when we moved into the area, we were given these buildings to work with and slowly made them into what they are today. At one point, only having what is the museum, and the rest of it was, you know, just broken down, not taken care of, and we've slowly turned it into this, a place where we have an upstairs classroom, a place where we have a museum, a gift shop, and so on. So it's been a slow change over time. But yeah, it originally had different purposes.
So I noticed outside, it looks like there's a space and a building, maybe the basement of a building that you can see, but it looks like maybe it's used for something, I don't know what.
Oh yeah, so that's what I was referring to as sort of the original entrance to the townhouse.
Oh, okay.
It had a set of stairs. And if you go out our back door and look directly above you, there's still doors there. They're just like, you know, if you open them here, it's just a drop down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like a nice patio space out there now. So.
It is kind of now. We're hoping to really renovate it. There was plans for a while to do something with it. I'm not really sure what. But currently our plans are, when we eventually had the funding to focus on it, because we're using funding for other things at the moment, is to make it sort of a community garden. To set it up to where, you know, we would have some crops in, you know, different sections, and then they could be taken care of by people in the community. Just another way to get more involvement in nature. Something that I personally learned about while getting my environmental education certification, and just growing up, honestly, around here too, is how important accessibility to nature is. Because Kentucky's a rural state, but that does not guarantee that the people in, you know, every part of the state have access to nature. For example, my home county, Allen County, has a river, a lake, the Barren River Lake. You know, it's a series of rivers and a big lake that was, you know, man-made through dams. If you have a boat, then you have pretty good accessibility in nature, but that entire park only has like one actual trail. And then outside of that, in the town setting, there wasn't really too much access to nature. The park's really small, and, you know, if your family had the right stuff, then you had plenty of accessibility in nature in the area. But for me personally, we never really did much besides like go to our backyards. And then outside of that, I didn't have much of a chance to see much else in nature. And then moving up here when I was a teenager into the cave region, close to a national park, that alone really grew my appreciation for nature considerably, being close to something like that. And outside of that, if you think about in other parts of Kentucky, you know, we get school groups from like Louisville, for example, that have students who never seen anything like a cave before. And it just makes you realize that even though we live in a very rural state, that doesn't mean that everyone gets to really see the nature that we have here. And that's a huge thing for us. A lot of times we eat the costs of field trips just to make sure that kids get the chance to go into our cave system. We have programs where we do like water quality sampling. We'll take them back to different sources of water in the cave. They get to take samples, you know, get muddy, right? Crawl around. Like, why not, right? We live in Kentucky. We should be able to, you know, have that available for everyone. So it's a big goal of ours as well. Sorry to bounce around topics.
that's
great.
I'm very stream of consciousness when it comes to my way of teaching.
Thank you.
But yeah, you're very welcome. I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I know you have a presentation. Did want to say one last thing with the education that we do here. Something that has been very important to us for all of our programs is making sure that they both encourage critical and constructive thinking and get these students doing hands-on stuff. Whether they get to do a program that takes place in the cave or not, we make sure the hands-on portion of it is there. Like we have a geology program where you went and guessed it, but in that room we have thousands of rocks and minerals, and we'll take a number of them out, discuss you know, what we do to figure out what mineral is what. We let them do testing on different minerals to see you know, what it could be. For example, amethyst and fluorite both look very similar, but there are tests that you can do to differentiate them, and we'll let them do those tests, you know. Keep it hands-on. Then of course they get to feel, touch the different minerals, rocks. You give them like a rock or a mineral from Minecraft. They love that. It's awesome. But then when we do go into the caves, we make sure that they get a real caving experience. We actually recently started doing a summer camp here where we go into the cave every single day, focus on a different thing every day. Last year we actually had to do 2 different weeks of summer camp because of how popular it had become. So hopefully next year we'll be doing 3. But yeah, there you go, guys. Is there any other questions for me?
What is your favorite feature of the cave?
The wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah, that is absolutely my favorite. Now, I did mention not getting a chance to see very much in nature growing up, but one thing that stood out to me in particular was in 4th grade we got to take a field trip to Mammoth Cave, and the tour guide talked about eyeless fish. And that, at the time, I just didn't believe him. I was like, even in a cave, why would a fish not have eyes, right? But then I went home and read up on it and was...
Fix that.
Not quite the same as lactating cow. Eyeless fish.
Yeah, might have been a mistranslation. It reminds me of like if you put a sentence in and Google Translate and then translate to like 17 different languages, by the time it's on the other side, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Telephone game, right?
Yeah, it is. I love it. Yeah, that's funny.
But I wanted to say I ended up reading a bunch on those, and I've always had an interest in wildlife in general, but that sparked a very particular interest for me. When I got the chance to actually start going into caves as a young adult, that was the first thing I asked about, are we going to get to see eyeless fish, right? And now I've been able to do stuff like help with sort of inventorizing, I don't know how you would say it, like keeping up with the count of the animals we have here, and learned that there's not only eyeless fish, but eyeless crayfish and beetles and different species of eyeless beetles, and then all around the world you get very unique animals that are only found in particular cave systems, and it's just been an obsession of mine. So not only with this particular cave, but with others as well, the wildlife in particular, namely how they are even there in the first place. There's not a lot of energy in a cave system, and these animals have very unique adaptations to be able to survive down here. Their body composition is like 95% fat, just because, you know, fat's gonna last longer than muscle. The eyeless fish, for example, they have fat deposits where their eyes would be. If y'all go to our museum after the tour, we have a fish tank with these eyeless fish swimming around. Look at their eyes. They're yellowish because of that fat buildup. If you're wondering why you can see it, it's because they're also see-through. No real need for pigment in an environment like that where there's no sun, so you end up getting lots of either pale or see-through animals as well. So sometimes you'll hear them referred to as like ghost fish. Just there's so much about the wildlife in particular that draws me in any cave. That's always my main focus. Which is why I'm hoping to get a degree in biology one day. Maybe specialize in cave biology. Who knows? Yeah, great questions, guys. If you have any more, just let me know. And I think probably you take back over. But I will be here. So.
Dylan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dylan.
If you'd like to say, you're welcome.
Okay, yeah.
If you don't want to,
Interested.
you don't have to.
Hearing about it.
Certainly. So next we have Dr. David Weisenhorn, who is going to share with us about traveling with children.
Yes.
And he has just come back from a trip traveling with children, so he's
That's
like
right.
got fresh information.
That's right. That's right. So instead of doing any research, I just took a trip on my own. And boy, do I have to tell you, traveling with kids is fun, right? No, it really is. It gets better. The reality is, I didn't always feel that way. So I'm going to be like Dylan and give some self. I'm going to tell a little bit about myself. One of the things that I realized over time was struggling. Like when I was traveling with kids, it was not my favorite at all. Like to the point to where it can kind of start putting a damper on the actual trip itself. And what I realized now that I've grown wiser, I like that you were talking about. As I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser. In that wisdom, I've realized one of the best things that we can give kids is routine. Right? So when we're in routine, things are good. They can predict what's coming. Vacations and trips and holidays oftentimes disrupt that routine. And so what I want to share with you today are some tips that I think are valuable, because what I really think, the way that I've designed this, and hopefully as I talk through it, it'll make sense to you, is to kind of cut these trips into a process of 3 distinct areas. So I don't know exactly how to advance this. But the first one is before we go. One of the things, I know this sounds really rudimentary, and it is. A lot of this stuff is super simple. So if it sounds simple, it's because it is. But oftentimes, simple things we don't think about. So I want to remind you of these things. 1, discuss the trip. Right? Talk about the trip, the who, what, when, where, and why. That's what kids want to know. Why are we going there, Dad? So we went to Austin. I took my children. I've got 2 middle schoolers. I'm going to try to make this throughout the lifespan so it adjusts. But I've got 2 middle schoolers right now. I've got a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, and we flew to Austin for the first time. This was our first time flying. So my kids got this trip, but they said, Austin. Dad, why are we going to Austin? Well, we had family in Austin. Well, there are cool things at the Alamos down there, right? There's all these neat things. It's weird. Keep Austin weird. Let's go see how weird Austin is. So we had a lot of things. The Colorado River was running through there. So we started talking weeks before our trip to our kids to build excitement, to build anticipation. That's why we start talking with our kids, but it also builds predictability. So now they begin to think about what we're doing. When we're talking about the trip, we also start to identify potential challenges or changes that are going to happen in that routine. Like, for instance, I said, hey, listen, we're going to fly out there. We're going to be coming back really late. We're not going to get back in town until 11 o'clock. Then we got to drive back from Cincinnati. It's going to be late, guys. So before we travel, I want you to make sure you've got that in mind, because it's going to be late before we get back, right? Or the same could be true if I was coming here today and I had my children with me, and I'd say, hey, guys, guess what? We're going to be hiking. So we're going to be on a trail. I want to know poison ivy is out. Ticks are out this time of season, so I want you to do me a favor. I want you to stay on the trail. Don't touch the green stuff, and try not to pick up any sticks. Ticks like dead wood, right? So don't do that. I'm giving my kids the idea of what might be challenging. Maybe it's going to be hot. We're going to take breaks. I need you to wear a ball cap. I'm identifying things that they might need to know that if they found out in the moment could throw them off, which leads to temper tantrums and meltdowns and all the things, right? The souring of the trip. So I want to avoid that, and the way we avoid that is by identifying these potential challenges early on. And again, we're still in this build-up phase. This is before we go, so we're not trying to throw a Debbie Downer on it, but we are trying to get some excitement and build-up. So we don't want to hit it too hard, but we say, oh yeah, there's going to be some mosquitoes. We'll put some bug repellent on you. It's no big deal, right? In that, while I'm doing this identifying potential challenges, I'm also sliding really seamlessly into this setting expectations for behavior. This is where I find a lot goes wrong, but we do it all the time. This is an ageless practice. Why I say this is an ageless practice is because you don't have to start early. If you haven't done this before and you want to start with your kids, it's a good way to do it. The way we do that is just like this. Hey, Elijah, remember, we're going to Grandma's house. So what do we do when we go to Grandma's house? He only knows the answer to this because I've told him since he was wee tall that we don't chew with our mouth open, Dad. We say yes ma'am, no ma'am, Dad. We don't hit our sister at the dinner table, Dad. Like, he knows all of the things because I've been telling him this. What am I building in him? I'm building self-control. I'm building the same mechanisms that I use when I go to Cabela's. David, I sit in the car, I said, David, you're not going to buy anything that you don't need. You're not going to call Ellen and ask to buy a boat, right? Those are the same principles that I use as a grown adult that I'm teaching my kids to use now. Hey, when we go here, we're going to keep our hands to ourselves. We can do this at the grocery store, right? It doesn't have to be a big trip. It can be a trip anywhere. Hey, when we're in the line, we're not going to ask for candy in the checkout line, right? We're not going to throw a tantrum. These things are critical principles because as you begin to build on them, does that mean that they're not going to have bad behavior? No, not at all. Come on. Are you kidding me? They're going to forget as soon as we get there. But instead of me getting mad and doing like Dad, why are you doing this? I don't let it throw me. What I do is simply remind them of what they told me. Hey, remember you said you weren't going to do this. Remember you said you were going to ask nicely. Oh, right, Dad. Right? The reality is I'm reminding them of what they said to themselves. Faith cometh by hearing. Like, they're telling themselves, this is how I'm going to act. And then as a parent, we get to hold them accountable. We don't call them down. We just ask them to rise back up. So once we set with the expectation, then we move on to your packing list. What else? The packing list, right? Why do we wait till the end, the last day to pack? Clothes. Dirty clothes, right? Because we got to wear clothes and we don't have enough to pack for a week until we do that. But the reality is so much more is involved in packing. So much. Start the week prior. As a matter of fact, in your list, I did a packing list and I put it in the folder. I think we're going to get those pieces to everybody. That list in the folder was really easy. Guys, I generated it on AI. Chat GPT. You go in there, go to chat, and listen, I'm going to teach you new tricks because this is really easy, it's really simple. Go tell Chat GPT where you're going, how many people are going. So I put it in 2 adults, 2 children, 4 days, 3 nights, Austin, Texas. I need a packing list. Boom. It hit everything. It told me how many shirts and pants and clothes and everything for every person on there. And then it said, hey, here are some optional things that you may need, right? Including strollers, all the other things that I needed. What was really nice about it, did it hit everything? Maybe not had everything I needed. But the reality is it gives you a printout, so now I don't have to think so much about it. And as I start putting those things aside, right, the smaller your children are, the more stuff that comes with them. Why that is the case, I have no idea. But when my kids were younger, it was just my wife and I. It looked silly. We had one little car seat in the back, and we had a topper on top of the car, and we had a carrier on the back of the car. It was crazy how much stuff they come with. You can begin putting those things aside and begin to get that packing situation so it creates less stress. So pack all week, guys. When we're packing, I talked about strollers. Listen, think about where we're going. Strollers take up a lot of room. A lot of people know this. I don't need to tell them that. But if you can avoid taking one, do. And as a matter of fact, if you came to the cave here thinking that you were going to push a stroller through it, you would be disappointed. So the reality is most of the times you do some of these around the city adventures. When we go into the backcountry or we're going to do hiking, probably not going to get a push-a-stroller. Strollers are really good if you go to like amusement parks where there's a lot of pavement, or greenways where you know you're going to have designated paths for it. Other than that, you might want to look into a baby carrier. What's nice about those, you can do them with a swaddle. There's tons of kinds that you can get, but the reality is they're easy to pack, they're light, and they're probably more practical when you do that. So think about that when you get in that packing list. Talked about packing. I grabbed I know I'm off camera right now, but I grabbed a little pack because I love going in the outdoors. I'm a hiker. I love bringing that. But when I talk about packing, one of the critical things to packing, guys, is snacks, especially with children, right? Snacks. And here I'm showing you what mine is. There's not much of a snack left because I snacked on it on the way here. But little easy closable items. I know I'm going to give a shout out to Dr. Luking, Dr. Norma Burdoff. They also talk a lot about nutrition, so all of this stuff is in some of their information releases, which is really good. But using containers that kids can easily get into, they don't need refrigeration. When I talk about packs, I think about raw fruits and vegetables and nuts. Who doesn't like that, right? With little kids, easy, I know it. We don't want to put grapes in their mouth, don't want to do raisins, don't want to do nuts. I know all that stuff, but as they age, I like the cleaner. A carrot stick, man, it's hard to mess up a carrot stick, right? And it's hard to mess up my car with carrot sticks. You can drop them and they're easy to find. What I don't like are the snacks that oftentimes are good, the goldfish, the crackers, all the things that break up because they make a mess in my car. But here's true transparency. I would much rather run a shop vac at the end of the day than listen to crying. So if the crackers and the goldfish are what it takes to keep a pleasant ride, by all means, do that, but be prepared to maybe clean up afterwards. So that's packing, that's strollers, entertainment. This is where probably a lot of people are hinged on and saying, oh, David, please tell me how to entertain my kids. I'm not big on this, guys. I am not a big entertain your kids all the time. That is not who I believe. I don't believe that's my role or your role as a parent. What I believe is for us to be able to have peace and be able to get along. And so what I provided also in that packet are some games that you can play in the car. And let me tell you, I believe that when we get in the car with our kids, man, it's a special time. Take the time to talk. I don't know why I got a little choked up there. Sorry. The reality is that the car time when we travel, a lot like a dinner meal. We get to talk to each other. Finally, we're in this space. You can't go anywhere. You can't run away from me. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Have good conversations. Talk about what your day is. Talk about what you hope to hear. There is some additional pieces that I put in there. And these two also are fun for a kid, especially if they're younger children. Maybe they want to draw what they're hoping to see. We've talked a little bit about it already of what they're planning on seeing, maybe some of the things that we're planning to do. So there's another piece here where they get to see maybe and talk about and imagine what the activities they're going to do. Maybe some of the things they're going to see, the places they hope to go. All of the things they hope to do are right here. So they have an opportunity. This can be a good time. Also had quiet games on that list, right? So if you're a dad like me or a parent like me and wants a little quiet time when we're traveling, maybe you just have them do the tic-tac-toes, right? The I Spies. Maybe we're doing another thing that I created for you, which I loved as a kid, and maybe some of you adults did, the travel bingo. So I just created a travel bingo, right? This is a great way. One of the things with entertainment, when we talk about driving, that I also have a piece for you, is about car sickness. When we're riding, especially in Kentucky, if you're doing some trips around Kentucky or you're going into mountainous regions, oftentimes it gets very twisty and turny, the roads through the travel list. And so it can make us, oftentimes, children from 12 years and younger are more susceptible to car sickness than adults are. Not saying adults don't get it, but they are. In that, I added an information release, and what's funny about the information release is that there's 3 basic things to avoid car sickness. 1, look out the window. Don't put your head down. Well, David, why do we have car sickness? Car sickness is registered because our brain, our inner ear, picks up movement that our body and mind does not see. So our eyes aren't seeing it. So one of the things we want to do is look outside. So this can happen if we're looking at a screen or if we're reading. Some adults know reading in a vehicle can be difficult. It's because we oftentimes feel that our inner ear is picking up movement. Travel bingo is really fun. It makes you look outside. It keeps you looking around. The second thing to avoid car sickness is opening the window, crack a window. The third is make frequent stops, which is great for my last point, which is plan for delays. Listen, delays will happen. What I realized, Google told me that I could get to the beach in 10 hours. I was 100% guaranteed that I was going to make that 10-hour mark. That was terrible. That was poor planning on my part and made for a most miserable trip for everybody. And the reason was because I was trying to get there on the time that it would have taken, really, that I couldn't gotten there by myself if I was traveling alone with a Depends on. So the reality was I wasn't going to be able to get there in that mind. So what I learned is that every 3 hours, I add 45 minutes to an hour. So my trip to the 10-hour trip to the beach, it's gonna take me 13 to 14 hours in my mind. And guess what? If I make it there in 13, or if I make it there in 12 hours and 45 minutes, everybody in the car is happy. The reality is we stop. When I go and get gas, we pull out a picnic blanket, we throw it down, we eat our snacks, we get something. It's so much easier and better for everybody. Even if you have an infant, being strapped solid and not being able to move for 3 hours is miserable. And you will hear that because they will oftentimes let you know. So if we plan for delays, a lot of times we can save the crew. So during your trip, I talked about routine. Why is it important? We want to keep that routine because that is oftentimes the current in which our children are used to going. And so when we disrupt that, oftentimes we see the results of that, which is bad behavior, which is fear, anxiety, frustration. And so if we can keep the routine, and what I would suggest with that, if we have littles, try to think about transition periods. How am I getting to and from? Can children nap? The two biggest things you want to work with children is nap time and feed times. Dinner times when we go on vacation, part of the complaint here is, David, but I'm going on vacation. I want to break from the norm. I want to break from the monotony of I do this at 8 and this at 10, and I want to change it up a little bit. That's good. It is good, and you and your spouse or partner can do that, but I wouldn't suggest that for your children. Keep them on that routine. They'll be happier, therefore making you happier. One of the ways you might be able to do that is just do different meal times. Making sure kids got snacks with them, that they can get fed when they need to get fed, put them down, maybe take a nap on the body, in the carrier, in the pusher, any of that on the road, sometimes can be a big help. Take first aid kit. I got one right here. Listen, chances are, I was in the military, so my first aid kit was absolutely asinine. I mean, it was going to cover a gaping chest wound. It would have covered. I had a splint that I carried with me in case you fractured your femur. I mean, silly things, right? That's probably not going to happen on your trip. So a Band-Aid kit is really helpful. Most of them, if we're thinking about what's going to happen to our kids, ticks, splinter, skin knee, maybe a black eye, that sounds like a fun trip to me. This right here, this will cover all of it. So a little first aid kit, and then be prepared for the meltdowns, right? Because they are coming. When you're prepared for the meltdowns, they're not so devastating. Kids melt down, we take a break. How about we sit? We'll sit down, let's get a snack, let's get something to eat. When you're prepared for it, it oftentimes doesn't derail the situation. And we'll land this trip right here. After your trip, it's not all over, right? I want you to come back, because this is what's valuable. The valuable part is that after action review. That's what we did all the time. And I know this isn't necessarily a process, but it probably will be a process that you repeat over and over as you go, and it gets better. The more that you do these things, the better it gets. And this after action review is so helpful because you just tell your kids, hey, what'd you like? What didn't you like? Would you do it again? And then how you want to remember it. It was organically this happened in my house. So we traveled back on Friday. When we got back late. I said that earlier. Woke up on Saturday, everybody just kind of decompressed, unpacked, did chores. And then Sunday, right, we're getting ready for the new work week. We've been gone for a month, so everybody was feeling the ache of the dread of Monday coming, but we're all sitting and having just an evening time. The sun's going down, and my kids start talking about the trip. And it was awesome. I mean, it was just like, what did you like? Oh, I like this. Would you do it again? Yeah, I'll probably do it again. If you did it again, would you do something different? Yeah, I'd probably do less of this and more of that. And it just created this really nice conversation. And all these memories that are getting created and talked about because of the trip are now being actualized. And they're now being placed as memories that we can be able to recall as we get older. So, this is how you do a trip. These are the things I've learned. I hope that this will help you in your travels. I will leave this up to questions or comments.
I'm a little teary, David.
I'm sorry, I know. I'm an emotional guy. I don't know what happened, guys. I turned 48. I get so sentimental about my kids. So I apologize about that, but it's authentic. Dylan started this thing. It's authentic.
It's so much fun though to have these moments where you can capture memories and to know that they are absorbing them and regurgitating them two. That's special.
And they'll never have it. You know, you'll never have it again. That's the reality. I mean, so much you want it to be done when it's little. I mean, at least I can be honest about having those feelings when I had young kids. I just wanted it to kind of be over. And now you realize as you get older, like, man, all those old folks that told me this thing will be, you're going to wish you had these days. You know, that wasn't that comforting in the moment, but it's such a true statement that it is like, okay, try and keep as much of this as we can.
And I want to say I love we don't have to always be entertained. I found that the older I get, the more entertaining the children are.
Yeah.
And so they might think that they have to be entertained, but they really are quite entertaining. And just listening to them talk is like better than any sitcom you can watch.
It is, and that's not to say they don't get annoying, because they do. Amy and I had that conversation before of like, you know, it gets hard to hear the bickering and the fighting, and you want to stop that sometimes, but you realize you're not going to hear that either. You know what I mean? Like, it's all pretty precious in its own moments if you can get yourself to that place. And I think the preparation and the mindset early on is what has helped me be more tolerant of those times. Yeah.
So I want to say something about the packing list.
Yeah.
I'm a mother of 3 boys.
Okay.
And currently they're 27, 25, and 21.
Mm-hmm.
But when they were little, packing for a trip was exhausting.
Oh, say more.
You know? So I started a packing list.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep it on my notes on my phone. And I would be like, okay, we're going to the Smoky Mountains. And I would write down everything on my phone that they needed to take. And then I would send it to them by text. Okay, so that they had to pack their own stuff. And then as I went to the Smoky Mountains or wherever I went, I would say, okay, I forgot to put blah, blah, blah on my packing list. So I currently, in my phone, have packing lists for all the places that we go regularly. And I also have packing lists for like 4-H camp. Everything my kids did as they were little. Now, as they're adults, they will literally text me and ask me for the packing list for a certain place. And because no matter where you go, whether you're going to the beach or the Smoky Mountains or wherever you're going, somebody's going to forget something, and so they will ask me for my packing list.
I love that. Sonya, you
serious.
can publish those, actually, and then you actually might make a coin on that.
But I thought, packing list, what was it?
Chat GPT.
Chat GPT. I was
Yeah.
like, I'd never thought about that.
I know.
So, but there's other ways to just keep packing lists if you wanted to keep one on your phone and your notes.
Listen, I love that, and I'm glad you said that because I forgot to mention how much I make my kids do their own packing.
Yes.
So it's so important because you want them, as a parent, our job is to prepare children to be successful in life.
Right.
So what am I teaching them? I'm teaching them how to make tough decisions and to deal with the consequences of your choices. Period. That's really what I want to do. And so what I want them to do is I want to learn some skills. So yeah, here, you pack. When we went, I got a 14 and a 12-year-old. They said, Dad, our bags are packed. I didn't unzip a bag.
Oh, no, you have to check it.
I said, great, man. I'm looking forward to it. We went on that trip. Now, listen, you're with Mom and Dad. We went to visit family. It's not like we were going somewhere that we weren't going to be able to replace something or get something if they needed it. Neither one of them needed a thing. And that was beautiful. The reality is that they've done it enough. You know, early on, it's like when they're little, they're toddlers, you're like, go get what you want to take, and they bring their lovey and maybe maybe a pillow or something, and that's it. And you help pack around that. But as they get older, you're giving them more and more to do. Right. And if they forget it, good. Yeah, hey, good lesson learned. Learn that now, and next time it won't be. So I appreciate that. I love the fact that you still have it, and that more importantly, your children call to get those lists. That says more credit about you. Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Why would we call? It's so time consuming. Questions, comments?
I have a comment. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate you reinforcing anticipation of a trip, because I think for a lot of people, I don't know if it's a lot of people, but that's half the fun, is to be able to think about it and wrap your mind around it and get excited about it, and then I think you appreciate it so much more
there versus just not having any thought process to it and then just showing up.
Yeah.
So
I mean, thank you for
Do you
saying
think
that.
there's a time limit on it though? I mean, you think if we.
For sure.
If we build up this, we've got 365 days until our trip and we're starting the countdown clock.
Depends the trip though, you know what I mean? It depends on I think you could probably do that for a Disney trip, right? I don't know if you could get away with that with Austin, Texas. And that's no hate to Austin, Texas, but for my children's appeal, they're like, why are we doing that? I mean, the best thing they got out of it was a flight. But really it wasn't. There was so much more to that trip, and they realized when they got back that gosh, both times they've been like, that was so much more fun than we thought it was going to be. And that's the reality. Hopefully they walk away with that saying, yeah, that's just new, going to see new things. So I like that though. Is there a time limit to how long? Yeah, I don't know. Find out, right? Me search, yeah.
You kill the excitement because you build it up for so long.
Right. Yeah, but I think also preparing for that too helps get your mindset into it. You know what I mean? Gets excited. Yeah, you're right. I like that too.
I'm ready for a trip.
Yeah, let's do it to the cave. What's that? You're not ready for the trip, huh?
Yeah, so somebody here might get a little car sick when she rides with me.
When I ride anything, I'm
Not just me.
Really? What keeps you? What helps you? Just taking breaks.
And Zofran preparation.
Yeah.
Doctor.
Again, yeah.
You can do like I did an international doctor's trip because I did an international trip recently. But just going to the doctor and making them aware of your issues to get any kind of help that you can get that way too.
Oh, you know what you just made? You made is you said something that reminded me. Something else I wanted to say, what happens if our kids get lost? Right? Like, so one of the things and that's also in the packet is what happens if I'm traveling with my children and we separate? Please talk to your children about what would happen if this were to be the case. And that can be easy trips to a museum where you might see a lot of people, especially if you go to an amusement park. Maybe we're not so concerned about it if we're going to hike in the woods. But the reality is kids oftentimes and adults, we misplace each other frequently, probably more frequently than we would like to admit. So begin teaching your kids, especially young kids, teach them your name. It's really confusing if a child gets lost and they're saying, Mommy, and there's 1,500 moms out and it's not really going to chime in your ear, right? As it would if they said, David, then other adults begin chanting that same thing. If other people were all screaming Mom, it would be weird. So make sure they know your first and your last name. Make sure they know their first and their last name. The other thing that we can do is make sure your kids know it's okay to yell. If you get separated from me, yell, let somebody know. If we also you yell and you don't see anybody, go get another mom. Go look for a mom with kids. Go to another mom with children because they will be caring and they will want to find you where you want to go. So obviously you want to tell them to look for staff, look for people that are well identified, like this, like Dylan here. He's got his badge on his coat. He's got one on his shirt underneath. Easy to identify, but making sure there's also an information release that goes over that with you, but good information because those are unfortunate possibilities, but still possibilities.
Last thing I've got to add to this.
Yeah.
When my children were little, not when they were 14 and 12, I would dress all of us in the same colors.
Hey, not bad.
And we would all wear like orange for the day.
Yeah.
Especially if you were at someplace really busy, like an amusement park. And you could say, if we get lost, look for Dad. We all have on orange. Look for a different person. Look for
good.
And if you wear blue, there's one blue.
That's not gonna work so good in Kentucky, is it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it's kind of all my children's pictures, family pictures when they were little, they're all dressed in the same color. But it kept us safe.
Yeah, that's good. I see that too. When we were in Disney, I saw a lot of families that were all doing that, and I think you're right. I think it's for that reason of that easy identification. And that person must go with you because y'all look exactly the same.
Or my mommy has on an orange shirt.
Yeah,
whatever.
Right. That's right. Good. I think that's all I got. You better get me off of here. I'll keep talking.
Hell yeah. We're learning, right? And that's the beauty of book club. It's not just about reading the book, but it's about learning as we go along. So next we have Sonya Carter. Sonya is the Extension Agent for Family and Consumer Science here in Hart County. And she's going to tell us what's fabulous about Hart County and the Mammoth Cave region. Or the Dripping Springs. What's the rest of it?
Escarpment.
Escarpment.
I'm not
You're learning, we're
We're
learning.
gonna get it there. Yes. Okay. You're on, Sonya.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, wait,
so much.
let me get your PowerPoint.
There, good.
Just magic. Just magic.
So there is so much to talk about in Hart County that honestly, I could spend my time talking just about Hart County, but I'm gonna go ahead and cover the Mammoth Cave area. So right here in Hen River Cave, we've talked about so much about that with Dylan talking about it. And I want to say that 2 of my former students actually work here. So I was a teacher for 27 years and now I'm an FCS agent, but 2 of my students actually work here and it's awesome to see them working here. One of the big things in Hart County that I love to do is right here and right here. I am 58 years old and I can still kayak or canoe. I prefer kayaking and it is a wonderful, wonderful time to just relax and rejuvenate yourself. And we have, my family has kayaks and we put in a lot down at Rio. It's a county park and you have access to get in and you can get off at Thelma Stovall Park in Mumfordville. I actually have some family and friends who own some land on Green River, so I can cut that short. That's about a 5-hour trip, 4 to 5 hour trip, depending on how fast the river is running that day. So, but I can get off in about 2 hours at my friend's house. So but it's a great thing. If you don't own kayaks, there is actually a local guy who rents kayaks and it's Big Buffalo Crossing. You can actually look online for that and he will take you to a drop-off point and pick you up at a drop-off point. So you could spend all kinds of time just kayaking in this area. He also offers different routes. You can do a 6-hour tour, you can do a 2-hour tour, or I'm sorry, a float. It's a float, a river float. So it's great. Dutch Country Safari is new here in Hart County. It is actually kind of like a little zoo. Well, I guess you'd call it a zoo. Have you been to it, Dylan?
To Dutch Country, but I've heard it's pretty much like that.
Yeah. I haven't been to it either personally, but I have a lot of friends that's been to it. And it is Amish run, which is where Dutch Country Safari comes from. I've heard the gentleman talk that owns it, and he actually said that he was started because somebody brought him a camel to take care of or something like that. And then he said people said, I want to come over and see it. So then he was just like, okay, I need to start charging admission for this. And it just kind of ran from there. And it is a wonderful place to go where they have hay rides and activities for children and you can feed the critters and all this stuff. So it's a great place.
They're about farm walls.
It's out the road it's at 335.
Okay.
It's past farm walls.
Okay.
Kentucky Adventure Zoo, Mammoth Onyx Cave is actually beside farm walls.
Oh, okay.
It's right off of exit 53 on I-65 if you're coming down. And Mammoth Onyx Cave, Kentucky Down Under is actually where I worked when I was in college. So I know a lot about that. The cave there is a wet cave, a lot of stalactites and stalagmites. It's a beautiful cave too. They added the Adventure Zoo since I worked there, because it was many years ago when I worked there. But they also have kangaroos because Bill Austin's wife, Judy, was actually from Australia. So she brought Australian type things to Kentucky. So that's where you get Kentucky Down Under because it's considered like they have wallabies and they do sheep shearing exhibits because all of that's.
Do they have the butterflies?
They have birds.
Something I knew that.
Yes, they have birds like a parakeet
Okay.
and different things. You can go inside a cage and feed the birds and they'll come and land on your arms and you can feed them. It's really cool. It's really cool.
They won't come into your hair, LaToya, because they're coming after the food that you're holding in your hand, and they'll land on your arm. It's really cool. Also, I just have to mention Dennison's Roadside Market. If you haven't been to Dennison's Roadside Market, it's a really quaint little place to take your family. Your kids would love it. If you have small children, they have everything from petting. They have petting where you can pet animals. They have a playground there. They have lots of things that you can buy that is Kentucky grown.
Food trucks on Saturday.
They have food trucks on occasions, but you can look up their website, or I'm sorry, their Facebook page, Dennison's Roadside Market, and find all the activities that they have there. So I really love that place too. Metcalfe County, I don't know as much about Metcalfe County as Hart County because I'm not from Metcalfe County, but I do know that these are the things that the FCS agent from Metcalfe County said. And she talks about Barn Lot Theater. I've been to Barn Lot Theater. It's a great little community theater that offers all different types of plays that you can go and see. Also, the Pumpkin Festival. I haven't been to that, but apparently it's the first Saturday in October. And the Lighthouse Restaurant is a wonderful family restaurant that you can get anything you want there. I don't know how long the Lighthouse Restaurant's been there, but really.
It's the oldest family run
Yes,
restaurant.
it is great. It is a great food. I highly recommend it. And then she talks about Suffolwell Park. Suffolwell Park is right there at the Lighthouse Restaurant, and currently they've received a lot of flooding, but it's still open. The Lighthouse Restaurant is still open. And little side note, when my husband and I first started dating, I took him to Suffolwell Park because Suffolwell Park is very quaint and very nice. Also, my father talked about, who's been passed for over 20 years, my father talked about going to Suffolwell Park when he was a kid, because apparently there was a big dance hall there and people would go there to dance. It's kind of like partying's in the 1940s, you know, so it's a great place to visit. Allen County, the most thing I know about Allen County is Barren River State Park. I know that he touched on that a little bit, and you could probably talk about Allen County better than me. So, but what the agent sent in was that the first Fridays in April through December. Do you know what that entails?
I do not. I haven't lived there in a very long time.
Okay. And then she also sent in the Amish market. And the other things I know about Allen County is that it was home to the first Dollar General store, and it used to be the Dollar General headquarters. So you go down there, there's a lot of history there. And also, they do have some great parks down there.
And Center for Courageous Kids.
Oh, yes, the Center for Courageous Kids, yes. They do something all the time for kids with disabilities. It is great. My niece has type 1 diabetes, and she goes there for a diabetes weekend all the time. And they have things for autistic kids and just about everything. And that's something else I'm sure you could look up on the website, or you could look up on Facebook. Barren River, Barren County. There's so much to do in Barren County. It also consists of Barren River. Mindy, you could probably talk about this more than me.
LaToya even more, because she's always lived there.
LaToya even more, that's right. So y'all just jump in here if you have something. What I know about Barren County, I did live in Barren County for about 10 years, so I know a lot about it too. But the things that I know that would be great for someone coming to visit is definitely with children is Dinosaur World. Kids love dinosaurs, and I've taken my children there when they were small, and it's a great place to go. The other thing that I would highly recommend is the Kentucky Action Park. There is horseback riding, and there is an alpine slide there, and there's all different kinds of things there. Your kids will love that. Ralphie's Fun Center, kids love that. I mean, it's kind of like, oh gosh, they have roller skating, they have bowling, they have arcade games. It's a great place to take kids.
I like the Grove, they have a really good concert venue in the back, and they're doing a Fleetwood Mac tribute coming up in May that looks fun, that I might go check out myself. It's like an outdoor, nice little situation they've set up. It's really nice.
I haven't been there, but one of my friends
You have to
posts
check out
on
the
Facebook all the
Fleetwood
time, and I
Mac,
keep
but-
thinking I need to go there.
That one will be a good night, cause it'll be a chill crowd, and I bet they'll have food trucks, but it's out behind Ralphie's, and it's like a little cozy little nook in some woods, and there's a stage back there. It's just-
In the middle of Glasgow.
In the middle of Glasgow.
In the middle of Glasgow, yeah.
Who'd have thought, right?
Yeah, because when I look at the pictures, I'm like, on Facebook, I'm like, where is that at? It's like a wooded area in
And
the
they had
middle of,
Cassie Roots come, like last year in the middle, it was just, it's a fun, like they have all kinds of different genres, it's fun.
And how do Diamond Caverns and Onyx Cave differ from?
Those are
Cave and-
private,
Oh,
they're private caves.
Mhm. And I can talk to you about that a little bit, but how much time do I have? They're wet caves, which means you'll see more stalactites and stalagmites than you will in Mammoth Cave. A Mammoth Cave is mainly a dry cave for the most part. Dylan, correct me?
Yeah, you're right. For most of the parts where they take tourists through, it's a very dry cave. There are
Right.
specific tours that go through whatever parts of the cave. And then if you ever get the chance to explore more of the cave system, there are definitely places with lots of formations, but the historic Mammoth Cave is very dry.
Very dry. Next is Butler County. I haven't spent a lot of time in Butler County because it is actually a couple hours from me. The one thing that they sent in is that they have a Green River Museum. They have the Green River Catfish Festival. They have a harvest on the Square Festival and ancient Indian burial grounds. That sounds like something that's very interesting. And if you go up there, you can find lots of things from the extension office. I'm sure the extension office could tell you more about that. Edmonson County is rich in the Mammoth Caves. I'll tell you that. My husband taught in Edmonson County for 14 years. So he was constantly talking about the cave and all the things that the Mammoth Cave offers. There is so much hiking trails. There is so much activities, biking trails. There's so much to do in Mammoth Cave and horseback riding. And of course, they offer camping and golfing. And it also has a lake in Edmonson County. It's Nolin State Park or Nolin State. I don't know if it's a park, but anyway, it's Nolin. Logan County. This was the FCS agent in Logan County is Rachel Hance. My husband is from Logan County, so I go down there a lot. I can tell you the thing that if I was going to spend one day in Logan County, I would make sure it was during their tobacco festival. And I would make sure that it was on Saturday morning, where every year they have a reenactment of Jesse James robbing the bank in downtown Russellville. And it is one of the coolest things. That's honestly, I've been going down there for years. Russellville is very rich in history. They have a lot of beautiful downtown areas. The houses down there, historic and beautiful. Their football stadium, historic and beautiful. You can go down there and just enjoy that. But I would say the Tobacco Festival is the thing that most of Logan Countyans will return on Tobacco Festival weekend. It's kind of like a homecoming for them also. Lots of times my husband's class reunion is built around the Tobacco Festival, not in May or June when they actually, but it's when they do it. Monroe County, if you FCS agent Stephanie was standing here, she would say the thing to come to in Monroe County is the old Milky Meeting House. And I've been there too. It's a historic site and it's beautiful, but they have all different kinds of activities throughout the year at Old Milky Meeting House. It's also known for President James Monroe, and of course the county seat is Tompkinsville. And one thing that's not on this slide that I hear them talk about is the Marble Dome. I haven't been to the Marble Dome, but apparently it's a famous place that people actually play marbles. And they're still doing it. They go down there it's in the book. That's right. It is in the book. And they talk about the men gathering around and have been doing it for years and years. And they literally play marbles. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that people come from all over to participate in the National Marble Contest. Is that right?
That's right.
That's right. Simpson County, the agent is Nancy Dole. And when I talk to Nancy Dole about the things that she thinks is the most important in Simpson County, she's going to tell you the Octagon Hall, and it's the Civil War Museum. Understands is that Octagon Hall has some it's haunted.
Yeah.
Or people say that it's haunted. So if people come from all over, you know, those ghost hunter kind of people that come from all over to visit Octagon Hall. And that's the thing. And apparently it's a beautiful building historically, the Octagon, you know, a decided building. So it's really neat. Other things that people go to see is the fork in the road. And apparently it's just a big, huge fork in the road. But you know, they go there, they take pictures. It's just something to do. You know, you drive down, you're like, let's go see the fork in the road. So they do that. The Mint Gaming Hall is big. A lot of people, if you're into gaming, you can go there and spend the day gaming. Other things that I'm not familiar with, but I know that it's also very historic. Warren County. Wow. Where do you start with Warren County? First of all, I think the thing that you're going to talk about the most is going to be the Corvette Museum. People come from all over to see the Corvette Museum because Corvettes are only made in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So people who are Corvette enthusiasts come here. They actually have a weekend dedicated to Corvettes. And if you're down here during that time, there's Corvettes all over the place, from the 1960 Corvettes all the way to the 2025 Corvettes. So it's really cool. I live right on 31E. So during that time, they won't necessarily want to travel I-65. So they will be driving up and down 31E. So it's really cool. And 31W also. It's a really neat place to go. You can also actually see the Corvette factory. They don't give tours anymore, but you can actually see where they're made. And as you drive down in front of Bowling Green, every time you go, there's a couple of Corvettes on display. And what's interesting is they've changed the colors. If you go during July 4th week, there'll be a red Corvette and a blue Corvette. Currently, there is a blue Corvette and an orange Corvette on display. And I wonder if that's because Florida won the national championship.
I would say.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of different things in Bowling Green. You can go to the Bowling Green Warren County tourism site and find hundreds of things to do in Bowling Green. The historic Railroad Park and Train Museum, you can actually go there and walk through a historic train. So it's really cool. A caboose, they have a caboose that you can walk through. There's just so much to do in Warren County that I don't begin to know where to start and where to end. So I'm from here, and if you want to reach out to me at any time, I will say that my husband used to be a travel agency, used to own a travel agent, and we travel all the time. We love to travel. So if you want to reach out to me, I'll be glad to tell you more to do in any of these counties. I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Y'all have any questions? No?
The Amish market. You told me about the Amish market to get donuts.
I did not mention in Hart County. Hart County is known as one of the fastest growing counties for Amish community. The Amish community is the fastest growing in Hart County in the nation. And there is probably, I don't know how many Amish businesses. Don't hold me to this, but I believe there's 40 Amish businesses in Hart County. There's everything from wood products, things made from wood, to jellies and jams, to donuts, to everything that you can possibly imagine. So if you want to come down and learn about the Amish community, you're welcome to walk among it. Seriously, I can tell you exactly how to get there and places to go. But one thing that I was telling Amy before we started is that right off of I-65, exit 53 is Farmwell's Restaurant. Farmwell's Bakery and Restaurant, I think is the name of it. And you can go there and have delicious food. It's, something different than a McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with McDonald's, but you're traveling with kids and they're like, I want McDonald's. Well, let's stop here and see Farmwell's Amish Restaurant. You can get all sorts of different things there.
We'll keep sharing.
Y'all got any questions?
I was gonna throw in on the note of having so many Amish in the area, we do get a lot of Amish families on tours. And one of the most interesting tours that I had last year was only 2 families. One was a big Amish family and then one was a big family from the Netherlands. So, Dutch speaking. And they were so almost inappropriately fascinated. They were just like, are these Amish? And they were like, well, yeah. And they did try to speak Dutch to each other and they couldn't understand each other, very well at all. It was pretty interesting. They got a few words, but I guess it would be similar to English and patois almost. But it was really cool. They hardly focused on the cave, to be honest. They were just so fascinated with each other.
Okay. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you, Sonya, so much for coming. And so, Amy, you want to wrap us up? No? Okay. Amy doesn't want to wrap us up. I'll wrap us up then. So, our next section is part 3. And we're going to be in the Bluegrass region. And so we'll be in Woodford County for our next session on April 29th. So, thank you all. Thank you, Dylan, for hosting us. And thank you all for coming. And thank you all for Zooming. And we'll see you all soon. And